Welcome to the show, guys. The CSFL recap show for week 3. Am I excited? I'm going to go right out and say it that this was the best weekend with the best combination of games that we may have ever seen in CSFL history. Week 3, Season 3. Super excited about it. I got 2 owners with me for the second straight week in a row, and I really hope these guys keep coming, and I hope you guys love these guys breaking it down with us. I got the owner of the Demons and the owner of the Bears. Guys, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Demons, Bears, we got a big one. Let's jump right into it. We're going to go right into the first matchup, which was the Cobras and the Piranhas game. This game was a battle of the Titans. This was one of those games that we really all were excited to watch. We had a lot of expectations for this game. And honestly, the Cobras brought it. The Cobras really came through. They really played phenomenal, throwing, 198 passing yards. But the real story of this game is how strong they played against this outstanding Piranhas team, keeping them to 78 rushing yards total, and turning it over against the Piranhas is quite the feat. But they did lose the game ultimately. Piranhas played phenomenally as always. They are just so consistent, actually turning the ball over twice themselves. Alonzo Graham, as much as they held down Willie Burnside, the 33 yards going into the fourth quarter, it was Alonzo Graham that stepped up and was able to take over, throwing every touchdown in this game. If I'm not mistaken, did Willie Burnside get one? Because I'm pretty sure that they held Willie Burnside without a touchdown. That's pretty impressive. Demons, I'm going to hand this off to you. What do you think about this Cobras and Piranhas game?
It was offense versus defense going in, and it turned out to be a pretty big defensive battle. Both teams went 3-0 to start. Cobras were making life difficult for Burnsides, like you were saying, John. It was 7-0 in the first for the Piranhas, and then at the 2-minute warning, it was still 7-0. And then we had 24 points scored before halftime.
Wow.
The Cobras tied up with 1:25 left in the half, led by Charles Hackett, who was the better running back on the day.
True.
And the Piranhas, another week of a quick response right before halftime. Cobras score. Piranhas have three throws later by Alonzo Graham, and it's a big TD to Andre Watson. He had all day to throw on the drive. Next play for the Cobras, it's an interception by Bob Rose. Graham throws another TD. It's 21-10 before you know it. The second half, Cobras played well. They had a 3-minute long drive, but ended in a field goal. Ended on the 7-yard line. And actually lucky they weren't intercepted a few times in the end zone on that drive. And then Alonzo Graham, he had some turnovers in this game. He threw a rare interception in the third quarter. But then in the fourth, you have the Cobras throwing a TD pass to Russell Hutton with a 2-point convert to tie the game.
Wow.
But an interception by Neil Mitchell of the end of the Cobras' chances in the fourth quarter, because the Piranhas they'd scored a touchdown on the ensuing drive after the Cobras tied it with that 2-point convert. So it's just the Piranhas being resilient again and responding again. It seems like anytime you've got them, you're with them, or you think you're with them, they put a quick touchdown in and they take the lead again.
Piranhas are always scary.
You're absolutely right. Honestly, the Piranhas seem to score at will. If I could, they definitely seem to score at will. Chauncey Preston finishes the day with 9 catches, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Andre Watson with the 1 catch for 55 yards and a touchdown was clutch. Huge. His only catch of the day, like you said, but the biggest play, like you said, Neil Mitchell, number 22, the veteran corner for the Piranhas, comes down with a big interception at the end, and then they're able to shut it down. But honestly, Piranhas are phenomenal, but these Cobras are for real. These Cobras really shut down Willie Burnside. I was so impressed. Willie Burnside goes into the fourth quarter with 33 yards and is held without a touchdown in the game. And honestly,
That has to be a first.
that might be the first time Willie Burnside. I have to do some research on that. Actually, that's a great point, Bears. I might have to see if that is Willie Burnside's first career game without a rushing touchdown, because that's how good Willie Burnside is. Bears, give me a quick thought on this game before we move into the next game. You got any quick points that we might have missed?
I was rooting for the Cobras all game. I was really going for them, and like the Demons said, the first half it feels like they were just trying to figure out a way to like deal with them, and then the second half they came out swinging. They were trying to win. They almost did.
Yeah, they held them to 7 points in the second half, right?
If I were the Cobras owner, I'd take that as a win. That's like one of the strongest teams in our league.
To hold them to 28 points is really impressive, man.
To almost win is very impressive.
That's how you win against the Piranhas. They had the perfect formula, but Alonzo Grand stepped up perfectly. Cobras next week go against the Vipers. They are hosting against the Vipers. They'll be at home, 2-1. These Cobras finished with the 9th ranked offense, but second rushing offense. They actually ran for a bunch of yards, quite for another straight game. Second in the league for rushing yards, which is really impressive. The Cobras 11th for passing offense, but the big ones here. Look at them. First total defense, only under 800 yards for 3 games. That is pretty impressive. Only 400 yards, only 388 in the air. First as well for pass defense. What stands out on the page here for you, Demons, when you look at these Cobras rankings?
Wait, their points for, points against. If you go off that page, it's 71 points for and 63 points against, and they're very close to being 3-0. Got someone in the background there. Yeah, they run the ball really well. Charles Hackett, like I said, he was better than Burnside's in this game. And their defense is clearly the best in the league, and the points against, they're the lowest, and it reflects there. They made the Piranhas offense struggle, and that's saying a lot from the limited amount of games I've seen of them.
Yeah, that is for sure. If you go to the standings, like you're saying, the Piranhas, or the Cobras, should I say. Yeah, wow. Look at that. Only 63 points against, which is the lowest in the league. Wow, that's
crazy.
That's extremely impressive. These Cobras. Talk about turning it around in one draft. Wow. Okay, let's take a quick look at the Piranhas.
After we look at them, I have a quick point, and then before we go to the next thing.
Absolutely. These Piranhas, they finish again and win again. These Piranhas, man. They just you just can't hold them down. You take away Willie Burnside, Alonzo steps up. You take away Alonzo, Willie Burnside steps up. They finish with the 3rd best for points per game, but the 10th total offense. But I'm gonna say that's extremely deceiving. But that first rushing offense, they still had the first rushing offense, even though they finished with 78 yards and no touchdown. But the big one is that 4th defense, which again is very underrated. 4th, they're definitely a top 3, top 2 maybe defense. And that turnover differential, another 2 turnovers actually. They got 2 interceptions against Ron Simmons of the Cobras. What stands out to you, Demons, when you look at these Piranhas rankings here?
Well, I know they won, but did we finally see a little bit of weakness in them in this game? 10th total offense, and when they shut down Burnside, all of a sudden Graham throws 2 interceptions. So maybe they're not invincible on offense. They're obviously top of the league, but one of the best in the league here. And when they get going, they look unstoppable. But the Cobras certainly made them look human in that one, and the numbers reflect it. They dipped in the offensive rank because the Cobras were shutting them down. But they won the game. That's all that really matters. And their defense, 4th, 5th, 6th in the for total rush pass. That's looking really good. I mean, those are good numbers.
And they lived to fight another day, eh? Wow. Yeah, right.
I'm glad the Demons mentioned that point about shutting down the run. If you look at it from a different light, everyone thought their weakness was if you shut down Burnsides, you win the game, but they still proved that their quarterback steps up when Burnsides doesn't. So it's like one of those questions. Yeah, he threw 2 picks, but they still won. So how do you stop them?
Yeah, he also made 2 huge touchdown throws. So
exactly,
to go to his credit.
He scored every touchdown in the game. He threw 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, when they needed it, he stepped up, and everyone thought if you stopped the run, you stopped them, but that's not the case. They proved it. They won.
Charles Hackett actually had 126 yards against these Piranhas. Seemed to be he had like 6-yard average. He actually played really well.
He was doing good. Yeah, he was doing really good.
Which was pretty surprising to see against these Piranhas. But yeah, did you have that point? Was that the point that you wanted to make before we move on to the next game, Bears?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, good.
Because he mentioned it, so it was perfect.
Perfect segue. Awesome. What a game, obviously. 28-21, absolutely phenomenal. Can't go wrong with that. We'll move right into the next game, though, because we did spend 11 minutes on that first game. Rhinos and Blue Jays. The Blue Jays. Wow. That's not my professional breakdown of this game, is wow. The Rhinos get the game-winning interception, and they were going to crown him the king of Rhino Land, Alvin Flowers. But there's a man named Blaine Higgins that ran him down and got the tackle. And then Alonzo Graham has to come out there and win it for them, and he throws the interception that seals it for the Blue Jays. What a heart-wrencher. What a heart-wrencher, this game here. 2 interceptions back-to-back right at the end of the game. This game was phenomenal. It did look like the Blue Jays were taking full control of the game for the most part, but the Rhinos kept coming back, kept keeping in pace. Alonzo Atkins, the quarterback for the Rhinos, with only his 2nd ever career start, played phenomenal. I know he threw the interception at the end of the game, but he also threw 4 touchdowns. And I can't remember the last time a Rhinos quarterback threw 3 touchdowns. They're a running team. So to see them throwing the ball so successfully like that was really promising to see. But these Blue Jays, man, they looked incredible. Eric Reeves just playing just clutch all game. There's not a lot you can really say bad about these Blue Jays. They both of them did turn it over twice, though. There were 4 turnovers in this game. Both teams did turn it over twice, even though Eric Reeves did still play phenomenal. Demons, do you want to break this one down for me? What was the big one for you in this game here, Demons?
Well, the finish was insane, and I gotta say the Eric Reeves clutch comment. I'm not so sure when you throw an interception on 3rd and 2 in your own end when you have the lead in the 4th. I don't know if that's my definition of clutch, Johnny. I'm not trying to argue with you, but the Rhinos, the defense bailed him out with that interception in the end zone, and then they finished the game like that. Now Reeves made a lot of nice passes. Both teams are 0-2 going in. They both really needed this. They both put up big numbers. It was exciting game, that's for sure. I mean, lots of action, lots of huge touchdowns, lots of turnovers. 50-yard field goal was in there. There was a pick 6 in the 3rd quarter by free safety Adron Johnson.
Wow.
A 4th down conversion. But I gotta say, there was a few drives there where Atkins. I know he had. You said he had 3 touchdowns on the day, which is unusual for Rhinos quarterback. But he was nearly intercepted a few more times, and that could have easily been intercepted. Good game though overall, like very exciting, and I, hats off to the Blue Jays for finishing it off.
Yeah, the Blue Jays, man. He said they did bail out Eric Reeves. You're absolutely right. It just seems to me Eric Reeves always ends up on top. Like he's just even because he played so well with the Gators, going all the way to the championship game last season. He just always seems to be on the winning end somehow. But you're absolutely right. His defense bailed him out. Both quarterbacks threw 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, which was pretty crazy to see 8 passing touchdowns. Like you said, that's extremely exciting game. That interception return, that defensive touchdown, was a huge momentum swinger. I'm just so proud of Alonzo Atkins. I was just so shocked because you're scared every time he drops back to throw it because it's only his second game, and it just a lot's riding on his shoulders. They called the Philadelphia offense, I believe, and they really put it on the back of this young quarterback. Bears, do you have any points that you want to add on to this game? Anything else stand out to you in this game?
Yeah, Alonzo Atkins, to go on what you were saying, he looks promising. Yeah, the Demons already made a few mistakes, but a lot of his throws, the ones that weren't like iffy, they were really spot on. I recall this one post route where the Rhinos threw a post and it was right over the defender's head, perfect, right into the receiver's hands. And I was like, damn, I even rewinded it. I was like, no way.
Wow.
I rewatched it. And there's so they work with him, maybe change up the playbook, see what works with him and what he likes. Maybe try because it didn't do wrong. They almost won. Maybe try the Philly offense again, see if it helps him. But like you said, it's only his second start, so.
Yeah, the big one for me, I know Alonzo Atkins, sorry. Alonzo Atkins, for the quarterback for the Rhinos. He threw 4 touchdowns. But the real impressive part for me, Demons, is that he threw those 4 touchdowns to 4 different receivers. Jones, Dorsey, Griffith, and Kobe Bennett all caught a touchdown. So he's spreading the ball around. And I know the Rhinos owners gotta love to see that. The Blue Jays end up finishing with 2 receivers over 100 yards. George Coyle, their veteran, had 117 yards and 2 touchdowns, where Tito Snow as well had 127 yards. It's just an exciting game to watch. What an incredible ending, like you said. Demons, man. These games are what the CSFL are all about.
Some games going overtime this week too. My game was similar to this. There was even the first game. It wasn't as high scoring, but it was a great finish. Lots of excitement. So yeah, definitely good. Some good. Other than one exception, the five other games this week were fantastic.
Absolutely.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
I think 5 out of 6 is one of the best weekends we've ever had. Here's the graphic here.
Gators right now.
What's that?
Let's not talk too much about the Gators right now.
Well, let's break down the Rhinos and Blue Jays first. These Rhinos, they deserve their spotlight here because they played really well on offense. They've really turned it around, even though they lost the game. They have really turned things around in Rhino land, and they definitely seem to be competing. Like the Demons said, they both desperately needed a win. These Rhinos now finished with the 6th in points per game, 7th total offense, 6th total defense. But last week, if you go and look at it, they were second last in total offense and second last in defense. And honestly, that's a big step up in 1 week. The rush defense, again, notoriously has always been well in Rhino land. They've always did really well against the run. Second in the league is no joke. Anything that stands out to you on their rankings here, Demons?
Well, you got middle of the pack for almost every stat except rush defense, but unfortunately 0-3, and you think with these stats you'd get a win somewhere along the lines, and they were a play away. You score that touchdown after the interception, and they're 1-2 instead of 0-3. It's
So
it's
true.
just a bad break at the end of that game for them. I mean, strong rush defense, obviously. I mean, they left 41 points in last week, but the
Yeah.
defensive numbers, they had a lot of turnovers, and they're even at the turnover differential. They keep playing like that, they'll get their wins.
Oh man, you're absolutely right. No, you're absolutely right. That's awesome. Let's go look at the Blue Jays here. Blue Jays get the win they needed. They finish with the sixth total offense, fifth for passing yards, but last 12th in rushing offense. Only 189 yards on the ground in 3 games. Ouch. They are notoriously known for running the ball, but now that they traded for the all-star quarterback Eric Reeves, they have definitely abandoned the running game, it seems like, and have gone all out in the pass. They finished with the 7th total defense, 10th against the run, and 5th against the pass. But that turnover differential is painful. -3, tied for 10th. Demons. And you see anything else that stands out to you in this Blue Jays rankings?
I think we said it last week too. Is that rush offense? You traded for Eric Reeves, let him air it out. They let him air it out. He had a 78-yard touchdown in this one. He had a couple other big touchdown passes. I know I was hard on him for that 3rd and 2 pick in the 4th, but he threw some huge throws in this one.
Yeah.
And let's hope that pass offense number just keeps going up. They could climb the rank higher than 5th. The turnover differential a little concerning. Hopefully Reeves doesn't turn the ball over as much moving forward, but they got their win, so that's what matters.
Absolutely. Bears, any last points you want to make about this game?
Yeah, they got Reeves and they've been passing a lot. It's kind of like a given because Reeves is so good, but had to have a deep playoff run, they're going to need to work on that running game.
I agree. I think they're going to have to be a little bit more balanced, but Eric Reeves, can he handle the load? I'm going to say he can. He
did for the Gators. He proved himself. So.
Yeah, absolutely right. Matt Davis, the running back for the Gators, did not have a huge season when they went all the way to the championship game. Now let's go right into the next game. Speaking of heartbreakers,
Tough.
let me give a little rundown on this one. Werewolves, Vipers. Last time these guys met, they met in the playoffs last season, and the Vipers were favored to win big time, but the Werewolves ended up beating them. Bitter taste in the Vipers' mouth. You know it was going into this game. They wanted this win. They wanted to stick it to these Werewolves, but guess what? The Werewolves were not intimidated. They beat them before when it really mattered, and they make a phenomenal play call, and they put in their backup quarterback. They move a few things around on offense because it wasn't working for them, and holy smokes, they dropped 41. And I know 41, it is high, actually. 41 is high, but not just 41. This is like dropping 50 because it's on the Vipers. No one gets 40 points on these Vipers, man, honestly. Absolutely insane for their backup quarterback to throw 400 plus yards. Kerry Kirkland, if you don't know who he is, get to know him. Werewolves, holy smokes, am I impressed with what they did coming into this week. They were in trouble and they knew it at the quarterback position, and they made the move. They made comments about Irv Walsh, so I guess he was inspired by the Gators game, and holy smokes did he ever make a great decision. What a heartbreaker right at the end there for the Vipers. They tried to go for that 2-point conversion and missed it, and then it ended up coming back to haunt them. It looked really close, very even at first. It was actually very even the whole game, and then the Werewolves kind of took control there at the end, and they just didn't have an answer for Kerry Kirkland, letting up 400 yards in the air. Demons, give me a breakdown on this game. What's the story of this game for you, Demons?
Well, last week, I got to eat my words here because I thought this was a mismatch. I thought the Vipers' defense was going to shut down the Werewolves. Then the Werewolves put in Kerry Kirkland, and out of nowhere, 410 yards, 4 touchdowns. Great game. But the Vipers started Darrell Wells, too, who I believe is their backup, who also had a really good game, 332 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, they both started the game. They looked like backup quarterbacks. There was an efficient field goal drive for the Vipers in the first, then a lot of punts, not a lot of action until later in the first half. But then the second half, these offenses opened it up. Phil Clemens got a touchdown run. Darius Burke also got a touchdown run on a nice drive in the second half.
Yeah.
Back and forth lead changes in the second half all over the place. That's the same. The Vipers are going to have a lot of stress watching their games this year because that's 2 weeks in a row where they've had a number of lead changes late in the game. Now, the Werewolves took a 3-point lead with 9 seconds left on the clock. And then the Vipers after the kick, they have 6 seconds left, down by 3, and they're in their own end. They throw a 20-yard pass over the middle and call timeout with 1 second left and kick a 59-yard field goal to get into overtime. But Werewolves get the ball. In the overtime drive, they kicked the field goal to win it in a game that really felt like whoever touched the ball last was going to win this one. Yeah. And the Werewolves were the ones with the ball last. They had an exciting game. Great job of those backup quarterbacks.
Oh, man, what dramatic game. These quarterbacks know. You can't tell me the AI don't know. These quarterbacks know how tight of a league this is when it comes to quarterbacks, and this may be their first and only start if they don't perform really well. There's only 12 jobs for starting quarterbacks, and they had a chance to really prove it, and I think Kerry Kirkland did. Holy smokes, how the heck do you go back to Quincy Barnett? There's definitely controversy there, or is there controversy? I think it might be just a slam dunk for Kerry Kirkland. Over 60% completion rating when he threw 400 yards and 4 touchdowns is just insanity. But let's talk about the Vipers here, man. These Vipers threw a big touchdown. What a strike it was to Shane Lott early. That first touchdown, I was so excited. I know the owner is too, because Shane Lott is their big star that they just always struggled to get going, and he finally gets one of his first touchdown, I believe, of the season, and it was a beauty, straight down the middle on a post route. Darwell, Excel Wells is what the Vipers were calling him, and they said that was one of the most impressive throws he's seen. He had Derek Albright out there. The game before, and you never see him make a throw like that. So Darnell Wells really impressing the owner there and scoring 38 points. The Vipers usually have very close games, keep teams very low. Personally, 22-18 Demons, but they really keep people low, and they score very low. They've never been a big powerhouse on the offense. But they've always really shut teams down, and this game couldn't be more opposite. These two teams have 2 of the best running backs, and they end up both calling extremely passing offenses and end up airing it out. And I'm really shocked when I saw these play calls of these 2 owners coming in here, both airing it out like this. They really just wanted to test it. MVP, obviously, is Kerry Kirkland, the quarterback for the Werewolves. But the big star for me that carried him and made him look good was Luke Atkinson. Luke Atkinson had 10 catches, 211 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Never mind his other receiver, his new receiver coming up. Their big star, Seth Spence, had 5 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown as well. But I think Luke Atkinson really helped carry the young quarterback. Any other points that you want to make, Bears, about this game? What stood out to
you? My only question is, after their backups did so good with all the trades that went on this week, I wonder if they start Quincy Barnett or stick with the backup for the Vipers. Because remember, Barnett's now a Viper and Horton's now a Werewolf.
Yeah, there was a huge trade as well this week, like you said. Yeah, not the Vipers.
And Albright's a Rhino now, so I wonder what goes on.
3 quarterbacks have 3 new teams.
Yeah.
So that is exciting to see, but it's going to be hard for the Werewolves, in my opinion, to to start anybody else. But Kerry Kirkland. I know they got J.J. Horton there, but I don't know. Hey, let's talk about these Vipers, then we'll get into these very impressive Werewolves. But the Vipers find themselves now 0-3. These Vipers, it's not time to panic, but man, you got to be getting worried. It's 11 game season. The Vipers were predicted to be one of the best, if not top 2, top 3 in almost everybody's power rankings. They finished the third week with the ninth in points per game with 28, averaging 28 points a game. Total offense 8th, and total defense 9th. But again, the rushing defense 3rd best in the league. But I believe that's because they just really aired it out on them. Over 993 yards of allowed in the game, or in the air, in 3 games. Honestly, I gotta put that on these young rookies, man. He's got a bunch of young receivers, or a bunch of young secondary players. I believe both his safeties, free safety and strong safety, are rookies. Yeah, Fred Whitehead, his free safety is a rookie, and his strong safety is a rookie, Pete Jordan. So they might be getting having a hard time. Demons, what stands out to you for the Vipers rankings here?
Well, that defense is allowing 400 yards a game. You look over. I know we're talking about the Vipers, but look over the Cobras. They're under 800 yards in 3 games. There's basically a 400-yard difference between these two defenses.
Wow.
That's a whole game's worth of yardage that the Vipers have allowed extra, and that's going to catch up to you, and
Wow.
that's why they're 0-3 here. The quarterback Darrell Wells played good enough to win. The offense as a whole, like they have a good running back in Phil Clemens. He was contained a little bit last week, but he had a pretty good game this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's that defense that's gonna. They're last week we were all talking about how great their defense was, and then this week they got lit up. So now we're looking at it the opposite way. It's the Vipers going in against the strongest defense in the league, and what are they going to be able to do? Is their backup quarterback or their new quarterback going to be able to move the ball against these Cobras? Because they really lock it down.
Wow, that's true. They do struggle offensively, and now they're going against the best defense. That is for sure. They got their hands filled with that one. That's for sure. That's the nicest way to say that. The Werewolves, what a win. What a play call. I don't know if he's coach of the week, but man, he's definitely got to be up there for a candidate. What a move he made offensively, changing his playbook, changing his quarterback, changing his offense a little bit, and super impressed with what they were able to do against these extremely powerful Vipers that they're just not intimidated by. They beat them in the playoffs. I think everyone might be scared of the Vipers. A lot of teams are because they beat a lot of teams, but they don't have a winning record against these Werewolves. For some reason, they have their number. They had the 3rd best total defense, and they're 1-2. And they just let up a lot of points and a lot of yards against the Vipers. So that 3rd defense is looking really strong. 2nd against the pass, last against the rush. But look at that total offense, man. 12th, last place total offense, and last place 12th in points per game. Demons, break down the Werewolves rankings here. I know they had a big game, but they still finished with the last total offense.
Wow, that's the product of the first 2 weeks. Kerry Kirkland comes in and they look like a completely different team. He threw for 410 yards. They had 694 over 3 weeks. So that means they only had like 284 yards in the first 2 weeks. It's night and day. Now, it's one game. It's a small sample size for Kerry Kirkland. We can't crown him yet, but like you said already, John, I think it's pretty obvious what direction the Werewolves need to go in here.
Yeah.
And yeah, that defense has been solid. 3rd overall. They weren't the reason the Werewolves were losing.
Clearly. Wow. Yeah. Beautifully said, Paul. Absolutely beautifully said, Demons. Hey, Bears, any last points you
Yeah,
want to make on this game before we move to the next one?
it looks scary for the Vipers.
Yeah, you
There's
would.
only so many games, and starting 0-3 is rough. I had
Yeah,
hopes last week, but now my hopes are starting to dwindle.
yeah. Oh
They've
man.
made their moves. They've made their moves, so we'll see what happens with it. It's not
Yeah.
like they're trying to change things up.
Oh man,
And
they got a big acquisition there in Keel McDowell, the cornerback moving coming from the Rhinos, now coming over to the Vipers. I'm extremely excited to see him join that team, and I can't wait to find what number he is. I gotta buy that jersey. Now let's move on to the next game. Boom, boom, boom. Demons, Dragons. Wow. I know the Demons are excited about this one. He's got these games broken down, and this is the longest one. His page is double paged, front and back on this one. Hey, Demons, they played phenomenal. I thought they were going to smoke these guys because the Dragons just haven't been able to really do it. And last week they got in trouble against the Wildcats very quickly. That game just turned upside down on them really fast. Dragons don't change much on offense, but they did make a few depth chart changes. Didn't really move anything offensively when it comes to big positions or their playbook. But man, did they play phenomenal. I don't understand how they played so phenomenal. What happened? I think the owner just came down there and lit a fire under these guys. And the Dragons look like a whole new team. Scoring 42 points. Honestly, I can't remember the last time they scored 42 points. I'm not going to lie. It's been a while. But the Demons are able to keep pace with them. I was extremely impressed by the two quarterbacks. Both of them played really well. It was just a phenomenal day to watch for quarterbacks. Brendan Platt finishes with 152 quarterback rating, over 400 passing yards as well. Two quarterbacks this week to throw over 400 yards, which is crazy, and 3 touchdowns. Super impressed with Brendan Platt. Had 74% completion rating. But Eric Watson also had 3 touchdowns, 154 quarterback rating. Man, phenomenal display by these two quarterbacks, but the Dragons end up coming away with the win. Demons, give me a breakdown of this game. How excited were you watching this one?
This was awesome. This was a great game. Congrats to the Dragons. This was 2 gunslingers going at it, with Platt being the better one. He won out on the day. There were no turnovers in this game. Both offenses playing clean up until a turnover on downs by the Demons on their very last drive.
Right.
On 4th and inches. Now, the huge first halves by Brendan Platt and for the Dragons and Shane Antwine for the Demons. There was a play that stood out to me, a few plays, but I'm going to point out in the second quarter, the Demons had just tied it up, and it was looking to be a 3-and-out. It was there was a big sack by the Demons to make a 3rd and 17, and the Dragons, Platt barely gets the throw off on the next play. He gets hit as he's throwing, but throws a dime for a huge gain. And on that same, I believe he got sacked 2 or 3 times on that drive, and they still ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive. So, and that was, to me, the point where the Demons' defense was broken. The Dragons were doing everything right offensively at that point. They ended up getting stopped a few times for field goals, but they were just having their way with the Demons' defense. But the Demons kept responding. They were down by 2 scores at one point. They kept putting it into within 1 score. They forced the Dragons to punt late in the 4th quarter. But then they had the first down. It got overturned, and then on 4th and inches, they lost. They didn't get it. Lost the big play by the Dragons defense to stuff them for a 2-yard loss to get the ball back and put the game away. Big game by Reggie Vickers, tight end for the Dragons as well. Had 96 yards receiving, which I don't think we've seen a tight end do, and I don't think anyone else has done that this week.
Very good point.
But yeah, Lamar Lester had a coming out party this week here. It was a huge game for him. 81-yard touchdown that I think someone noted in the chat that it was a crazy running touchdown. He broke multiple tackles in the backfield, then turned it upfield at 81 yards, which, I mean, I was losing my mind at that point because I'm biased here, obviously. But, you know, the Dragons came out on top. They made more plays. Simple as that.
Man, Lamar Lester, you beat me to it. And you're absolutely right. I love your breakdowns, by the way, David. Hey, Lamar Lester, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. I was so worried about the running game for the Demons because they just throw it like crazy. So to see Lamar Lester do so well with only 13 attempts, man, that's exciting. If he can have that kind of production with that little bit of reps, and like you said, what a run. Bears, how did you like that run? I know you saw that one.
That was me who mentioned that in the chat.
Nice.
That was the best run in CSFL history. But he broke 3 tackles, did a spin move, almost fell to the ground, ran it all the way downfield. I was out of my seat for that one. That was intense. After that play, I wanted the Demons to win. I was like, they needed it. And they almost did it. In the fourth, they were starting to shut the Dragons down, but I think it was just a too little, too late kind of thing. They would have started shutting them down from the beginning of the second half. They probably would have won.
That's a very good point, man. The Dragons just kept responding. Both teams scoring every quarter. No one let up at all. But speaking, let's talk about Lamar Lester one last time. Lamar Lester, 1 catch for 74 yards and a touchdown. Demons. Talk to me about that play. Give me a little bit on that play.
Great call for the point in the game. He lined up in the backfield, motioned out wide to the right, and it was a mismatch. He just burned the guy covering him, and Watson hit a perfect throw right to him. Just outran everyone to the end zone. It was beautiful. I do want to say this, John. I'm going to go off topic a little bit. The time of possession was a huge advantage for the Dragons in this one.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that Lamar Lester only had 12 carries. I think Eric Watson only had like 15 throws. There wasn't a lot of plays ran by the Demons. The Dragons dominated time of possession. It was 13 minutes 40 seconds to 6 minutes and 20 seconds.
Wow.
So great possession game by the Dragons. No turnovers by the Dragons. They scored. They only had a couple punts, maybe one on the game, but they played a great game, and they played a very solid game where they just didn't make a lot of mistakes.
It's true, yeah. They almost had 3 receivers get over 100 yards. Reggie Vickers falls 4 yards short at 93, but Barry Perkins had 124 yards with 9 catches. Barry Perkins was absolutely on fire, and the big touchdown. And then Des Edwards with 5 catches for 160 yards as well and a touchdown. Man, Dragons, man, they were on full display. And if you want a good look at the Dragons, like you said, they had a lot of time of possession in this game, so they were on full display. Wow, super impressed by these Dragons. But like you said, the Demons did so much with so little. But before we get into the Demons, let's give the Dragons a little love here. They end up finishing with the third best total offense. How did they pull that one off? Third best total offense? That's impressive. 4th for points per game with 33.3, but third best for passing offense, over 1,000 yards now. 5th for total defense, 4th against the pass, but the turnover differential, -3. But he played flawlessly this game, and they still finished with tied with 10th. Tell me what stands out to you when you look at these rankings for the Dragons here, Demons.
I don't think we're talking enough about Brendan Platt. He threw for 400 yards in that game, but that means he's averaging about 300 in the last 2 games. He's like 1,000 yards over 3 games. It looks great. 330 yards a game, roughly. If he plays mistake free like he did in that game, why isn't he in the conversation for one of the better quarterbacks in the league? He's 2-1 and clearly can make the big throws. Defense is efficient. Rush defense probably got hit a little bit by one big play in that last game. The 81-yard run where they could have stopped them in the backfield, and and all of a sudden you take and it's a -2 instead of an 81. You go take 83 off 349, and their run defense is a lot better. So I know that's not the way it went down, but they were very close to stopping that play.
Wow.
Just a very well-rounded team.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Wow, very very good points. Brendan Platt ended up finishing with 20 completions at 27 attempts, which is 74% completion rating, and he threw for over 400 yards. No turnovers, but he got sacked 3 times. The Demons were able to get home 3 times. But yeah, Brendan Platt, he is a champion. Don't forget it. Brendan Platt and the Demons, or in the Dragons, won season 1. So they have the championship mentality, and they can definitely get it done when they need to. So really excited to see these Dragons turning it around. Now let's go look at the Demons here. Demons finishing with the 4th best total offense, 8th for points per game, which is kind of low, 29.3, but that's not that big of a difference. It's a big jump for a few points. 4th best for passing offense, 8th against the 8th best total defense, 8th against the rush, 7th against the pass, and tied for 8th when it comes to turnovers. Anything that stands out to you when you look at this, Demons?
Well, rush offense, first 2 weeks, I think I had 65 yards. So this week we bumped that up with almost 140. The 4th overall offense, it's running, it's the engine of the team. The defense, they make some plays here and there, they get some sacks here and there, but they're struggling. They need to make a few more plays. They need to start capitalizing on some of these near interceptions. That's why we're -2 on the differential.
Yeah. Bears, give me a little breakdown of the Demons and Dragons game and what stands out to you in the rankings.
The thing that stood out to me the most was probably Brandon Platt's performance after not really showing out the first 2 games. Like everyone thought he would, at least, and they're reigning, like they've won a championship before, so everyone expects them to do better than they do. And when the Demons, they put up impressive feat. They showed that they have a running game, and the 7th ranked pass defense, 8th ranked rush defense looks good for their first year in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, 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 very good points. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next game. And I know that this was a terrible game. It was brutal to see for these Gators. I feel terrible for them. But hey, these Scorpions, man, looked so impressive. They were just all over them. They were swarming it in the air, turning the ball over, to getting pressure, to stopping the run. They just had no chance. It just seemed to get away from them so quickly, so early. I just don't understand what happened to these Gators. It was just extremely painful to watch. Only scoring 7 points, which is the lowest in CSFL history. No one's ever scored 7 points that low before. The lowest before that was 10. They end up finishing with the worst quarterback rating in CSFL history as well, 28 quarterback rating, 3 turnovers, 21 rushing yards on the ground, only 201 passing yards, and a bunch of that was garbage yards. The Scorpions just dominated in all phases of the game, 358 passing yards. They didn't need to run it because they were just they won the game. I felt like in the second quarter, they went up big there. I was excited for the Gators when they got that kick return touchdown by Tony Miller. They actually didn't even score on offense. They didn't score. They did not score offensively. They had a kick return touchdown by Tony Miller, their cornerback, that brings back the kick returns. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, here come the Gators. They're going to steal a little bit of that momentum. And then the Scorpions literally turned around and scored on the next drive. Man, Demons, give me a breakdown of this game. But what's the story of this one for you?
Walsh is the story of this one for me. Last week he played well in the first half, and then he only threw like under 20 yards in the second half. And clearly, the second half, Irv Walsh carried over into this week. He was awful. He cost the Gators the game. It didn't matter if anyone else showed up on the team. He was under 50% completion percentage. He threw 3 interceptions. The offense looked like they couldn't get any momentum going. Scorpions looked great, and rightfully so. I mean, they took advantage of the situation. The backup quarterback was in, and they had a heyday. Like it was, they've kept their game plan intact since preseason, and they're 3-1 now, looking good in every game. Anquan Seymour hit Jackie Wilson on their opening drive of the game, and they went up 7-0 and really never looked back. Big first quarter by middle linebacker Ernie Pounds for the Scorpion. Had 3 tackles in the first quarter. I know that the Scorpions hit a 44-yard dart to John Waters, which led to another Jackie Wilson touchdown in the second quarter, right near the beginning of the quarter. And that Jackie Wilson touchdown was a highlight. He made a beautiful deke near the goal line to get in. Then Tony Miller returns the kick for a touchdown. And then the Scorpions score a bunch more points. The Gators turn the ball over a bunch more. And Dane Clemens is really the only offensive player that looked like he was doing anything for the Gators. 7 receptions, 163 yards, trying to help his quarterback out. Tiki Carter quietly ran for 80 yards on the day because he's been great this season. But he's still a good game, 80 yards, but it just got overshadowed by Seymour, 365 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, wow.
Complete domination by the Scorpions, and I think that ends any QB controversy for the Gators. I think you got to go back to your quarterback you traded for.
Yeah, wow. You're absolutely right, man. Wow, they got just smashed all over the place. And Matt Davis did not help. Their quarterback, Irv Walsh, the running back for the Gators, Matt Davis, he ended up finishing with 17 rushing yards in only 6 attempts. 2.80 yard average. He only had 6 attempts, so they obviously abandoned the run. If he had a little bit more attempts, maybe he would have got a chance to break one. But this game, do you think this is more the Gators messing up? Or do you think this is the Scorpions just dominating?
I think it's both. I think the Irv Walsh start, the experiment's over. You can't fault him for trying. He obviously won the game last week, but I don't think you can go back to him after this. This is just too poor of a showing. The Scorpions, though, they've looked good since day one here. There's no reason to believe that this wasn't them playing really well, and more so than the Gators playing bad. I mean, they both happened. Both things happened. Scorpions played well. Gators played bad.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. So it's definitely a combination of both, and that's why it got so bad so fast. Definitely. Okay, now let's go look at these rankings for these guys, and we'll go look at the Scorpions first. Scorpions 2-1. They got a big one next game, hosting the Piranhas, but they finished with the 7th in points per game, 5th total offense, 3rd rushing offense. Like you said, Tiki Carter quietly rushing for 88 yards, or 80 yards, or whatever it was. Man, Tiki Carter's was looking really impressive, but they just didn't need him this game because they were able to throw 4 touchdowns flawlessly, effortlessly maybe. Passing offense, 9th in the league with only 705 yards, but that is definitely deceiving because they're an extremely efficient passing offense. But the big one, 2nd total offense, and that's going to happen after a game like this. 2nd total offense, 4th against the rush, 3rd against the pass, 1st in turnovers with those 3 picks. Their defense and turnovers just look at it, stand right off the page now after that game, man. Demons, what stands up to you in these Scorpions rankings?
Well, clearly all they're near the top in a lot of these rankings. But yeah, the defense stat after this week, you got to take it with a grain of salt because they were gifted a little bit on this one. But with that said, their defense has been solid, and a +5 turnover differential speaks volumes about how well they're playing. Because really, those are the big plays that you need your defense to make. All yards aside, you need those turnovers, and they're coming up big with them when they need them. The offense looks great. Yeah, and after this week, Seymour showed off his skills. Obviously, they have a great passing team to go along with Tiki Carter. This one is a measuring stick game for them. Let's see what the Scorpions are made of against the Piranhas. They can maybe be the first ones to give these Piranhas a loss on the year.
I love that. I love your breakdown. This is a measuring stick game, and you couldn't be more right. This is a way for them to test how good they are, if they're for real or not. And the Piranhas, as we know, are just phenomenal. So to see these Scorpions go against these Piranhas, this has got to be the Friday night game, I'm assuming, for next week. But yeah, let's go take a look at the Gators real quick, and then we'll get the Bears to give us his thoughts as well. Gators, their offensive has to look bad after that performance. 10th for points per game with only 23.6. Total offense is 11th. Rushing offense 9th. Passing offense 8th. Total defense 12th, last in the league. Rushing defense 7th, passing defense 9th, and turnover differential last in the league at 12th at -4. They end up trading their quarterback, and then they set the record for the lowest QBR rating in CSFL history. Do you think that's a coincidence? What do you think?
Well, Eric Reeves got his win this week. After losing after the Gators got their revenge game against Eric Reeves, they got their win last week. But if you had to ask me which quarterback I'd rather have on my team right now, it's pretty clear: Eric Reeves over Irv Walsh. You've got to play the guy you traded for at this point. They had a big win with him, but it's time to put Walsh back on the bench. That's messing up all their stats this week's game.
You've had so many sound bites and quotes tonight, by the way, Demons. I love it.
I'm a machine for sound bites, Johnny.
You are, though, man. You really are. You dropped the experiment is over is a huge one. The experiment is over, and that is so well said for the Gators. And man, look at this matchup next week. How desperate of a game is this, man? These two teams need this win. Can they split the win? Can they split it? Oh man, what a game next week. And Gators, man, back against the wall with these Rhinos. This is gonna be a good one. Bears, give me a breakdown of the blowout. I'm gonna say
the Scorpions showed out. They did really well, and then the Gators didn't. The Gators didn't even score anything offensively. They couldn't get nothing going, and when they did, they turned it over. It was a rough one to watch.
Oh man, that is the nicest way to say that. Wow, yeah.
It could have been worse.
The Scorpions must have loved it. The Scorpions must have been going crazy, and man, you gotta give a lot of credit to those Scorpions, man. It looks like they were gonna win that game regardless of anybody who was starting, but the quarterback played bad as well, so it just got messy real fast. I
will say this on that one, John, because the Bears did bring it up, where there was some momentum for Irv Walsh and the Gators at the end of that first half. He was driving down the field, and then he threw an interception in the end zone. So it wasn't like he was just completely lost. They had a chance to make that game close, and that was a backbreaker.
Oh man, so many heartbreaks this weekend, man. So many heartbreaks. Speaking of another heartbreak, let's break down the last game, guys.
Oh.
Bears and Wildcats.
Heartbreak.
What a heartbreak this is. This is just as exciting as the Demons and Dragons game, because there was so much passing, so much entertainment, tons of turnovers. This was just an absolute classic, and I'm going to go out and say it, that this is going to be a rematch. I can see this being a rematch in the playoffs. And we're going to be coming back and looking at this game if these two meet up in the playoffs. But before I get into anything, I'm going to let the Demons take this one. Demons, give us your breakdown of this game, please.
You're bang on, John. This was a huge game with huge plays all over the place. Both teams undefeated going in, and it delivered. Opening drive, the Bears fumble. Wildcats recover. 2 plays later, it's in the end zone. Trevor Simpson catches a 32-yard catch. The Bears then get a big stop on third down. They kick a field goal. Bears get a big stop on third down, though, on the Wildcats' next drive to hold them to a field goal. And then Will Hilliard makes them pay for it. The offense fed off that defensive stop, 80-yard touchdown run on the next series. Then the big plays just kept going. Jeannie Ingram hits Troy Jackson for 68 yards off a play action. Perfect throw. Bill Morris responds. 74-yard TD to Ryan Dillon next drive. And then you start seeing some turnovers. Tyron Penn gets an interception for the Bears. So the Bears end up settling for a field goal after driving to the 1-yard line on that drive, which may have come back to bite him. Ingram throws another interception the next time he gets the ball, this time at midfield. Bears move the ball, but end up running out of time, and it was 20-17 at halftime. So again, two drives there for the Bears. And when you're looking at a 3-point game that ended in overtime, the Bears had a lot of opportunities to score more points here, and they didn't capitalize on them, which is a big factor in this one. To start the third quarter, Wildcats almost a 4-minute drive, and they tie the game on a 30-yard field goal after a 4-minute drive. They get a huge sack on the Bears' next possession, force a 3-and-out. Wildcats drive, score on another run with 3:09, score on a Trevor Simpson run with 3:09 left in the fourth. At that point in the game, the Bears had only run 3 plays in the second half, and they were getting killed on time of possession.
Wow.
And yeah, Ryan Dillon on the next drive, though, Bill Morris hits Ryan Dillon for an amazing 40-yard TD catch. Go back and watch it. Fourth quarter, 40-yard catch by Ryan Dillon. Fantastic. Wildcats respond with a 26-second drive where there's a 67-yard touchdown pass. Big plays everywhere in this one. Just huge plays. Bill Morris then drives the Bears down to tie the game with a third touchdown by Ryan Dillon. Goes into overtime. Bears get the ball, drive into field goal range, and then Morris makes the mistake. He throws an ill-advised pass in the middle, and Alan Stevens is in the right spot at the right time. Wildcats get the ball back, win the game on a 37-yard field goal. Fantastic game. Heartbreaker for the Bears. They definitely are going to kick themselves after this one. Missed opportunities for sure, but Wildcats are 3-0, and good teams find a way, right? Both teams are great teams, though.
Wow, what a breakdown. That was awesome. Bears, I'm going to let you say a little piece. You got something to say about that, man? He captured it perfectly. That's exactly how it went down.
But the only thing that I had to say is the AI screwed me over. We got close enough to kick a field goal. We should have just done it.
Yeah, that was
heartbreaking as hell.
Yeah.
But to add on to what the Demons were saying, we kind of played subpar in the third. Your team, like the Wildcats, held us pretty fucking bad. Pretty bad in the third there. But Bill Morris wasn't letting it happen. He wasn't having it, and he came back in the fourth, tied it up, and then we should have won. It's a win to me. We're 3-0. Over here in Bears Nation, we're 3-0.
Bears Nation feels robbed.
Bears Nation feels robbed for sure, but they still got the 3-0 mentality, which is great to have. But on the standings, may be a little bit different, my friend. But hey,
it might look different, but when you watch the game, it speaks for itself.
4 minutes. He said it, but Demon said it right. 4 minutes and 30-second drive in the third quarter. And then the Bears only ran 3 plays in the second half at that point, like you were saying, because they went 3-0 after that. Whoa, that's how you win championship. That's how you win games. And the Wildcats still end up tying it at the end. Bears got the opportunity, like you said. Man, the Bears should have won this one. But wow, what a game! What a thriller! Definitely came through, like you were saying. Super excited about this game. I thought the Bears had it for sure when they got it in overtime. I'm not going to lie. When they I'm like, whoever gets this last is going to win it. Like you were saying, Demons, earlier about the other game. And as soon as they got it at first in overtime, I was just like, oh man, Bears got this for sure. We haven't been able to stop them all game. Bears end up finishing with 414 passing yards, but also 119 on the ground. Super, super balanced. But both teams end up turning it over twice.
How many games have the Wildcats won in a row now? It's got to be a lot. Carrying over from last season.
Well, they won. They lost in week 8, but then they won in week 9, and they called the Philadelphia offense. And since they've called the Philadelphia offense, they have not lost a game. They lost the preseason game though, against the Vipers. But they didn't lose into the playoffs, which is a 3-game run, and now they're 3-0. So that's 7 games now in a row. And
something different in the preseason game. Did they sub out players?
It was a different quarterback. They had the backup quarterback with the rookie Bo Hastings in there, and also they called 2 different offenses and defenses. But the big stat that I wanted to point out about the Wildcats is that the Wildcats now have never lost in overtime. This franchise has now gone to 4 overtime games, including 1 in the championship game, and they are 4-0 when they go to overtime. And that is pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible. Let's go take a look at the rankings for these teams real quick. So these Bears next week going against these Demons. This should be a shootout. I'm just gonna throw it out there. These two teams can score offensively big time, but the Bears end up finishing with the first total offense, scoring 38 points against the Wildcats. Second in points per game with 37.6 points per game. First total offense. Fourth against the rush. Fourth on the run, second in the pass. Man, they're so balanced. They have like extremely balanced offense, man. But they finished with the 10th total defense, first against the rush, only 186 yards in 3 games. They ended up finishing first against the rush last season too, so they are notoriously good at stopping the run. But the big one is pass defense, 12th. Last place, letting up over 1,000 yards. They're 4th for turnover differential. Demons, what stands out to you for these Bears rankings here?
Well, they're 2-1 and could easily be 3-0 with a play here or there. The total defense may look bad, but their defense is solid. The Wildcats put up some big numbers against them. They've had some, but they've made their plays. It's a bend don't break, and the offense they'll hit you in a number of different ways. Will Hilliard will make you pay. Bill Morris makes clutch throws. They're a hard team to beat, and the +3 turnover differential caps it off. They're a top team in this league.
Yeah, absolutely.
The reason why we have the highest ranked pass defense, like the worst, is because Bill Morris is always gunning it down teams' throats, so they have to fight back through the air. And we have second-year corners, and rookie safeties who showed out this week and both got interceptions. So.
They did, yeah. Congratulations to Tyrone Penn, the first-round draft pick for the Bears, getting his first interception of his career, and it was a big one against a big quarterback at a big game. So that's pretty exciting stuff there. For these Bears, and I want to just go out and say it, that they are still the team to beat. So the Bears are looking really exciting going into week 4 against these Demons. They go on the road, and the Demons get to host their second game ever in franchise history. It would be their second home game. So I'm excited to see these Demons and Bears game. This is going to be a real big one as well.
What's going to be a key matchup is that 11th ranked rush I mean, the 8th-ranked rush defense is the 4th-ranked rush offense.
Yeah, can the Demons slow down the Bears' rushing game? Can they slow down the Bears at all offensively? Because the Bears are just really the balanced, and they're the number one offense. They're the top of the league, man. They're better than the Piranhas right now. Better than the Wildcats. Better than they are the number one offense. That is a big number one there. It's hard to get ones. Okay, so other numbers can be inflated here and there, but a 1 is usually pretty accurate in my opinion. The Bears look really, really, really strong. And then our last breakdown, last thing before we end the video, is these Wildcats. They finished with the first for points per game. Wow. 38.3 per game. Second total offense, tied for 6th against the run. First passing offense, and that's a huge one. To be in a passing league to have the first total passing offense is no joke. 11th total defense, though. 6th against the rush and second last, 11th against the pass, but tied for 2nd in turnover differential. Demons, what stands out to you with these Wildcats rankings?
Oh, the Bears certainly knocked those defensive rankings down. There's no doubt about it. That their offense more than makes up for any shortcomings of the defense. That offense is high-powered, can make plays from anywhere. They're second overall, only second to the Bears, who very similar, can beat you from anywhere. I think the Wildcats are the team to beat right now. They just beat the Bears, so they become the team to beat in my mind. It's going to be a tough one for the Blue Jays next week. I think the Wildcats are a tough matchup for anyone.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, Bears. Want to give a little breakdown of the game and of these rankings of the Wildcats?
It's going to be a interesting one for sure. I think that if Gene Ingram can keep playing at a strong level, they'll probably end up being reigning champs again. So it's going to be tough for the Jays to try to deal with that. But if they can get a run game going and Reeves can keep playing at a high level, and it might be an interesting one.
Absolutely, yeah, and the Wildcats get to host it in the Wildcat Stadium as well, going 3-0. So now there's only, I believe there's only 2 teams now that are 3-0, and it is the Piranhas and the Wildcats. Then the Bears.
You're missing one, the Bears.
The Bears are 2-1, and the Cobras. And the Cobras are Cobras, Dragons, Scorpions are also 2-1, and man,
Wildcats and Bears should be flipped right there.
It's gonna be quite the stretch. But look at all the points. The top teams seem to score quite a lot of points, so that seems to be a common trend there.
I think the common trend is defense. You've got out of the top, the Scorpions in there too. The Dragons have 117 against. But everyone else in that top 5, well under 100.
Very good point. Very good point. Yeah. All right.
Look at the Cobras. Cobras have 63 points against.
Yeah, and the Scorpions only let up 7 points in one game. That's why that's so low for the Scorpions. That's crazy to think about. Yeah, wow. Cobras looking extremely strong. Look what one draft can do. And they nailed it on almost every one of their picks. In the draft. So, wow. Okay. Thank you guys so much for joining me and breaking this down. It was a bit of a long one, but man, we got it all in, and I'm super excited about week 4. Thank you, Demons, for breaking it down, and thank you, Bears, for duking it out with us, and for helping me out here.
No worries, man.
Thanks for having me, John.
Awesome, guys.